He basically tells the rest of the party that they're going to go through the river. But who would do this to a bridge? To what end? For what purpose? Did somebody just know that, I'll bet they're going to cross the bridge with a bunch of shit and they're going to get stuck and I'm going to rob them? Does somebody know that Richard the Seeker is going to cross the bridge? So they rigged it to blow, so to speak. They didn't. They just rigged it to fall in. But why? Why any of this? And it's such a small part of the chapter.
Yeah, you almost feel like somebody's going to be at the other side. And if there's not, then what's the point?
Yeah, like it's a setup for something that just kind of never happens.
But even our main characters aren't worried that there's somebody on the other. Like, they're all like, oh yeah, someone tampered with the bridge. Let's definitely go that way.
Yeah, and our guy, the question asker, he never asks, who the fuck would have done this? What was their purpose? Nothing like that. It bothered me.
Are we just assuming everything weird that's happening is dark and raw?
Kinda so far. Like anything really weird. Bridge being out may or may not be. It could be local thief. That was my only guess. The bridge goes out. He comes up later and be like, oh, y'all got stuck. Couple of you died. Let me steal your shit. But maybe not quite so casual. But that seems like a lot of work for one theft. Wouldn't you want to do a crime that you'd be able to reset a little faster and get more people caught up in?
It's also funny, too, because this is all based on Richard feeling uneasy. That's all. He feels a little weird, so he's like, better check it. And then, again, nobody is like, maybe we're going to be ambushed. They're all just like, yeah, let's go over it. The one powerful person in our group should probably hold the bridge up for all of us and waste some of his energy by holding the bridge up instead of us getting wet.
Right. It was kind of funny to me, too, that they just blindly followed Zed's lead. Like, no, I'll hold up the bridge. Now, at this point, we know he's a wizard, but he is an old man. And I could see Richard being like, what are you talking about, Zed?
That moment of forgetting in between remembering that your friend has magical abilities now.
Right. You've hung out with this guy your entire life. You wouldn't expect him to just lift a bridge. He's an old man. You'd be like, no, dude, we'll find another way around, which is exactly what he says. And Zed's like, nah, I got this. Or maybe this was a tool that Goodkind used to illustrate that he can do stuff like this too.
Totally could be.
That's literally the only reason for having a busted ass bridge right here that I can see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Richard gives Zed a hard time. He says, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it would have held. And Zed gives him kind of a weird look and he's like, maybe you're right. And then he snaps his fingers and without looking back, the whole thing comes crashing down and flows away into the river.
I feel like this is the perfect time for Zed's impish grin to make a return. He snaps his fingers and the whole thing goes down, which is obviously somebody's plan.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, then again, maybe you weren't. And he goes, well, I couldn't leave it like that. The next people who were going to use it could get hurt. And so not only did he teach Richard kind of a lesson, he's looking out for the next guy.
But also nobody's questioning this still. He's still like, yeah, somebody else could have gotten hurt. But we're not going to wonder why that would have been. We're just going to move along in our day. And Richard says to Zed, someday, Zed, we're going to have a nice long talk. And at this point, you're like, fuck yeah, you should. You should. He has a lot to talk to you about that he's been keeping from you.
He's got to have a ton of knowledge that he hasn't been able to tell Richard yet. So they all start riding again, and a little whimsical part. Zed kind of shrugs over at Kaylin, and she winks back at him, which, weird. Right?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was.
And then she turns her horse to follow Richard. I think it was just kind of Goodkind's attempt at a joke. Not that it was a bad one, just that he's keeping it lighthearted. It's fine. The wizard fixed the bridge. We can continue now.
Like Richard was like, oh, you use magic, and that was weird, so we're going to talk about it. And Kaylin and Zed are like, he's such a noob, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So, as they ride on, the book says that Richard lets his horse pick his own way in the darkness. Now, I don't know much about riding, but is that very smart? it just kind of, it makes it seem like Richard isn't paying that much attention to where he is or where he really should be. But, you know, I think in a way I'm similar to Richard because I also let something pick my way in the darkness, and that's beer.
Oh.
That's a little dark, isn't it?
Well, usually it depends on the beer. Sometimes it's not so dark. This beer isn't that dark.
No, this beer isn't that dark at all. Do you want to do the honors, JD?
Sure. This beer is actually not even from Michigan, guys. It's a special beer. We picked this beer out because the picture on the front actually looks a lot like a gar.
Right. Yes, it does.
This beer is called Bat Squatch from Rogue, and it says dedicated to the legend on it, and we bought it for the label. I'm not even going to lie, because it looks like a gar. It says, for years, rumors have circulated that deep in the woods on Mount St. Helens lived the fabled Bat Squatch. While there are many tales of Bat Squatch, they are all a bit hazy on the details. So what better way to honor the legend than with a hazy, juicy IPA? Perfect for camping and potentially making a new friend. It's tropical, citrus, and it pairs well with white cheddar, grilled salmon, and strawberry shortcake.
Those are a lot of different things.
Very different things. It's 6.7% by volume.
Not bad.
No.
You know, typically Jade and I don't go for the IPAs, and to be quite honest, like she said, we totally bought this one strictly for the can because we thought it looked like a gar, and we can put a picture of that up on the Instagram.
We will for sure. I'm going to post both the beers we drank tonight just for funsies.
But we were very surprised when we tried it, and we're like, holy shit, this is really, really good. So if you guys find this out by you, or if you find it in your local store, you should definitely give it a try. So we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
Richard's horse whinnied at things unseen, which made Richard worry about gars, even though all the leaves and the branches would prevent one from, diving down on them.
Right. They're not going to get any aerial attack from above like last time.
Right. It's going to have to come on the ground. It's going to be a lot louder.
That somehow doesn't make me feel any better. Oh, it'll be loud when they come for you. And after about an hour, he hears something breaking branches and heading towards him. Now, whatever it was keeping up with them. Although they're not running on the horses, so I don't think that it's moving incredibly fast, just keeping pace. And whatever it was, he hoped it was Chase, which you would, but earlier you heard all the screeching and stuff fade out, and you haven't heard anything since. So in my mind, I'd be thinking it's probably just another creature, and we're all fucked.
Right, and that's why he pulls the Sword of Truth, though. And he feels the heat and the need coming forth.
Horny talk. Calling it.
Right. No, it is. It is. And he tries to see what's ahead in the darkness. Meanwhile, pulling the sword up and ready to cut someone's head off.
This was one more part in the chapter that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The book says he charged ahead with lethal intent. But why would you do this when you don't even know for sure what it is? Like, you're not supposed to shoot a gun in the woods when you can't see what it is you're shooting at, because you might, accidentally kill something innocent. But Richard is not heeding any of that shit. He's like, nope, sword's out. I'm going to charge it, just like we thought he was going to do to the boundary before. Mm-hmm. And it just seems super unsafe. Like, this is not a move Richard would make.
Right, and he sees it come onto the road a dozen yards ahead of him. And it's weird to me that it takes him so long to recognize that it's a dude on a horse, because he gets within killing range before he realizes that it's Chase. It doesn't say that he's swinging down on him, but it makes it seem like he was damn close.
Yeah. Now, I might not be able to tell that it's a specific person on a horse from 100 yards away. 50 yards away, if it's in the woods and it's dark, might be difficult. 25 yards away, I feel like I could identify you on a horse. To me, that's not within killing range unless I am about ready to huck my sword at you. So Richard is either ready to throw his sword at a stranger in the woods for no apparent reason, or he's blind as a bat and he's like a foot away from Chase. Okay, maybe not that extreme, but he's pretty damn close to where you'd be able to see before that.
You don't want to just blindly be whacking your sword at it.
Right. So just as he gets within killing range, he sees that it is Chase. He lived.
Yeah.
He totally went into the screeching black darkness and came back alive, which obviously, that's got to be a relief for Richard.
Yeah.
But as he's charging to Chase, he's just sitting there in the middle of the road, holding an arm up to halt him as if that was going to work. Now, Chase is a big guy, but even like the world's strongest man could get run down by a horse.
Yeah.
I don't see why Chase was like, he'll stop. Dude out on the train tracks, like, it'll stop. You just wait.
Because he has no fear, Nate.
No fear doesn't make you not dead.
I know it doesn't. That's, I mean, those are the kind of men who die for no damn reason.
It's just like we were talking about in the first episode. You could totally just trip and break your neck and end a story, bud.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably how eventually Chase is going to die. He's just going to trip over a root in the woods.
Or maybe Richard.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I was doing that weird charging thing again, and I fell, and now I'm stuck.
Whoops.
So here's the sword. I guess I'm out. Another thought that I had was, would the sword prevent Richard from killing Chase in the first place? I'm not really sure, because he wasn't really sure what the fuck he was swinging at in the first place. So is it that he wasn't sure Chase was totally guilty? Not that Chase is guilty at all, but Richard had the question in his mind, would the blade let him carve into something he wasn't sure about?
I think it has to do with intent. So if he was swinging it and he wasn't sure, I don't think it would. But if he was swinging it and he was like, we might die if I don't kill this thing, and he didn't see Chase, I think it would kill him.
Well, Zed does explain that it all goes off of his perception. So I suppose if he viewed Chase as a threat to his own life, or Zed or Kaylin's, that even without seeing his face, could be anybody at that point, this person needs to die, otherwise I might die, and he could totally get away with murder. Not get away with murder, but the sword would allow him to kill that person.
Right. Absolutely. And I think if he saw Chase halfway through carving through Chase's face, the sword might be like, oh, and like spring back, but it wouldn't matter because he would already be dead.
Yeah, my guess is you couldn't undo all that damage.
No.
Let us know what you guys think about that. I'm kind of curious. I went back and forth myself about it. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Because no, if Richard hadn't recognized him and had totally tried to halt, Chase had no actual protection of his own, other than his chainmail.
Right. Dude wears a lot of armor, which actually kind of goes into play here. Richard's like, dude, you scared the wits out of me. And Chase goes, I mean, you gave me a moment of concern, too. I'm not afraid of you, Richard.
Because his balls are as big as coconuts.
Apparently they are. But even though Chase is obviously not as scared of Richard as Richard is of Chase, he's like, hey, follow me. Stay close, take the rear, and keep your sword out. So he's still not totally at ease.
No, he's not like we can't just like hang out and have jokes right now, bud.
Right. This is work time. And they stay that way until they're out of the woods and into the countryside. And Richard finally chills the fuck out a little bit. He puts his sword away, and then he asks Chase what that was all about. And Chase tells him that there were things coming out of the boundary to chase them, and he had to go fucking take care of business.
I had to go do my job, bitch.
Right. And so how fucking scary is this guy coming after you in the dark woods that he can spook a demon of some kind back into the underworld?
That's why you want Chase on your side.
Right. Scary motherfucker. And then he asks him, hey, why'd you stop back there?
Yeah, that was not part of the instructions. And Richard says, I was worried about you. I wanted to help you. I heard the howling, and Zed and Kaylin were like, don't. And Chase was like, well, thank you. I appreciate your concern, which is not what Richard expected. Richard expected him to be like, you're fucking dumb. He didn't. He thanked him. But he also said that was also dumb because the creatures almost had you when you did that.
Yeah, you were